Friends, the top 3 stablecoin coin Binance USD has effectively ceased to exist today, and it took the regulator less than 24 hours to do so. We will learn later how they did it and whether it was a planned strike on the leading cryptocurrency exchange Binance, but for now let's look at the facts. It is known that the company Paxos announced the cessation of work with Binance. This story began last week when rumors appeared in the media about an investigation into the work of the Paxos company. At that time, they stated that nothing was wrong and that the license issued to them by the New York Department of Finance was fully valid. And this morning we learned that the U.S. regulator SEC has brought charges against Paxos for issuing unregistered securities under the guise of Binance USD. I remind you that this is a top 3 stablecoin by capitalization, which exceeds $16 billion, and 90% of this stablecoin is on Binance. In fact, it was specifically issued for the exchange, hence its full name Binance USD. Now, Paxos has 30 days to respond to the regulator's charges, and if the conflict is not resolved, the court will deal with it. Following the example of the Ripple court, we know that this could take 2 years or more. It is also known that the New York Department of Finance has banned Paxos from issuing new BUSD tokens, so it will not be able to use its license as a cover. There is currently a lot of information on the network that the SEC has gone crazy and it is impossible to equate stablecoins to securities, even unregistered ones. There is also information that Paxos may have problems with compliance with customer verification rules, which are subject to different anti-money laundering and sanctions policies. For such violations, regulators can also create many problems. But for now, these are just rumors. Binance is aware of Paxos' regulatory problems and the fact that they can no longer issue the stablecoin. The exchange has effectively distanced itself from the stablecoin. But it is important to note that BUSD has always been issued and serviced only by Paxos and is not related to any activities of the exchange. Chen-Peng Zhao expects that in the future, the capitalization of BUSD will decrease as users transfer their funds to other stablecoins. In other words, he voiced that they will not fight for the preservation or use of BUSD, and it can already be exchanged, for example, for USDT. The good news is that Paxos has sufficient collateral for the stablecoin and will continue to service it, meaning that the $16 billion will not vanish into thin air and become another massive scam. Anyone who wants to cash out their USD can still retrieve their dollars. The presence of reserves and confidence in the issuer company's fairness will prevent panic, and as a result, the stablecoin will maintain its peg to the dollar and continue to trade freely on platforms that support it. Finally, the most important point is Zhao's reaction, for which he had spoken all of the above. The exchange will continue to support BUSD for the time being, even though users are likely to abandon it and switch to other stablecoins. Therefore, Binance will likely revise its primary trading pairs in the future, simply swapping BUSD for USDT and pretending that such a stablecoin never existed. By the way, if you open the capitalization chart, you'll see that it has already decreased by around $150 million today, and Tether also issued $1 billion USDT today, presumably preparing to accept new clients. In summary, Paxos' problems do not interest Binance, and they intend to distance themselves from the situation completely. On that note, Paxos responded with a statement announcing the termination of all business with the exchange. Those who still have BUSD can exchange it 1-to-1 for dollars, which can be done until March 2024. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow the news on our Telegram channel, the link to which will be in the video description. I wish everyone a good day, big profits, and see you soon.